The ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers, each facet throwing kaleidoscopic reflections across the polished marble floor. Elite socialites mingled, champagne glasses chiming, laughter weaving with the soft hum of a live string quartet. The mistress entered like a force of nature, every step measured, her entourage trailing like a halo of power. Her eyes swept the room, calculating, knowing she owned the attention of every influential guest present. The husband lingered nearby, his smug grin betraying pride in her dominance. She raised her glass high for a toast, a sly smile hinting at a subtle dig aimed at the absent wife. Whispers flickered through the crowd, rumors of the wife's family fortune lingered like a shadow, but no one had ever witnessed the might behind it, adding an undercurrent of suspense to the evening. Every glance, every murmur, seemed to ripple with unspoken tension, as if the room itself sensed a storm approaching, though no one could yet see it. The mistress's laughter, deliberate and flirtatious, floated across the room as she made her rounds. With each word, each tilt of her head, she humiliated the wife subtly, referencing her absence in ways that left the elite guests buzzing with intrigue. "Oh, it's such a pity she couldn't be here tonight," she said, her voice dripping with playful venom, while the husband leaned closer, basking in the glow of public admiration. Gasps, envious glances, and whispered speculation spread like wildfire among the crowd. Yet behind the flashes of camera lights and clinking glasses, a quiet tension began to grow. Murmurs hinted at unseen power, something that could overturn the mistress's apparent victory, though no one dared to voice it. Her dominance, so bold and assured, cast a shadow that seemed unchallenged, yet the crowd couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that the night might shift in an instant. Eyes flickered to corners, anticipating an arrival that could shake the entire room, a suspense that made every moment taut with expectation. At the rear entrance, far from the glittering main hall, the quiet elegance of the venue's private wing offered a stark contrast to the chaos within. The wife stepped lightly onto the polished floor, her presence understated yet commanding. She wore a tailored dress in muted tones, exuding quiet confidence rather than flamboyant luxury, signaling power in restraint. Beside her, a loyal sibling moved with equal discretion, eyes scanning the surroundings, alert for any signs of disruption. Each step was deliberate, every glance calculated. She was not here to rush, to panic, or to confront without thought. The soft click of her heels echoed slightly in the corridor, a subtle herald of the force she carried within. Her mind raced, not with fear, but with strategy. Anger simmered beneath the surface, a focused fire sharpened by patience. Thoughts of the mistress's arrogance and the husband's smug pride fueled her resolve. Every breath, every heartbeat, measured and controlled, as she prepared herself to step into the arena, unseen but not powerless. From a discreet vantage point, she observed the mistress moving through the crowd, each gesture radiating dominance. Every smirk, every laugh, every tilt of the head was catalogued, a mental map of arrogance she could exploit. She exchanged brief, casual words with passing staff and a few unsuspecting guests, subtly extracting information about the mistress's sway over the room. Whispers reached her ears, hints that the mistress's apparent triumph was fragile, temporary. The wife's family empire, though hidden, was already stirring, their influence unseen but imminent. Calm and measured, she contrasted sharply with the mistress's flamboyance, her steely gaze commanding authority without spectacle. Her mind raced through potential scenarios, contingency plans layering over one another. Then, almost by chance, or perhaps by fate, she overheard a critical snippet of conversation. Someone connected to her was already moving behind the scenes, setting into motion the ultimate reversal. Her lips curved slightly in quiet satisfaction. The stage was set. The suspense thickened, anticipation coiling tightly like a spring ready to strike. The mistress moved through the room with predatory grace, every step a statement of authority. Her laughter rang out, sharp and controlled, drawing eyes like moths to flame. She referenced the wife's absence with playful jabs, each word dripping with subtle cruelty. It's such a shame she couldn't witness this evening, but some things are better left unseen. Guests shifted uncomfortably, a mixture of admiration and unease flickering across their faces. Some whispered in astonishment, others exchanged glances, sensing the audacity behind her behavior. The husband, standing beside her, grew bolder, performing small but deliberate displays of power, leaning over prominent guests, sharing inside jokes, and basking in the mistress's orchestrated spotlight. Yet beneath the shimmer of dominance, subtle tension simmered. Glances between certain staff members and side comments among the elite hinted at a growing awareness of a latent force, an unseen power waiting quietly in the wings. For the first time, the mistress's confidence was met with subtle cracks, the room's undercurrent tinged with suspense. While the mistress commanded the room, the wife remained a shadow, observing and calculating. From a discreet corner, she subtly pulled out her phone, sending quick, coded messages to her family members. Each message was brief, yet precise, conveying instructions without revealing her presence. Within moments, replies came, silent acknowledgement, concise confirmation, a network of power activating in real time. Her calm demeanor radiated confidence, an invisible threat the mistress could neither see nor anticipate. Every smile, every measured breath, reinforced her control, contrasting sharply with the mistress's flamboyant display. The wife's mind orchestrated contingencies, anticipating every potential move, every possible blunder by the mistress or her husband. Meanwhile, staff members subtly shifted positions, guests found themselves subtly redirected, and arrangements were quietly adjusted, all under the wife's silent command. Whispers of her family's influence began circulating among the more perceptive guests, small hints of a reversal yet to come. The tension built like a coiled spring, each passing minute amplifying anticipation. The stage was set for an upheaval. A quiet, relentless force was mobilizing, and soon, the mistress's carefully constructed empire of attention would face an unexpected reckoning. Suddenly, subtle shifts rippled through the room. Security personnel, who had seemed casual mere moments ago, straightened, their eyes sharp, scanning the crowd with new intensity. Organizers whispered into earpieces, receiving mysterious orders that seemed to ripple through the staff like electricity. Guests began to notice small anomalies, the maître d' directing attention differently, waiters moving with unusual precision, staff subtly redirecting certain influential guests. The mistress, mid-laugh at some cruel jest, felt a faint prickle of unease, a sense that the room was slipping beyond her control. She tilted her head, forcing a smile, attempting to maintain her aura of dominance, but flickers of doubt betrayed her. Glances passed between certain staff members and discreet family associates stationed around the room, hinting at an invisible network now activating. The tension thickened like fog, heavy and inescapable. Unseen hands were rearranging the stage of power, quietly but unmistakably, setting the scene for a shock that would shatter the mistress's hard-won triumph. Then, without warning, the announcement came. A heralded voice echoed through the venue, crisp and authoritative. The entire hall, every inch of it, had been legally purchased by the wife's family empire for the evening. Instantly, the room shifted. Flashy signs unfurled, staff gestured with formal authority, and whispers erupted into audible gasps. Socialites froze mid-sentence, their chatter replaced by astonishment. Cameras clicked frantically as guests tried to process the sudden reversal. The mistress's face went pale. The arrogance that had radiated moments before was replaced by raw panic. Her posture stiffened, her gestures faltering as she realized that every ounce of her public dominance had been nullified by a hidden force she had never accounted for. The husband's smug confidence wavered, confusion clouding his expression as he grappled with the power shift. Meanwhile, the wife emerged from the shadows, calm and poised, her every step measured. She walked into the center of the room, reclaiming not only her dignity but social dominance, radiating authority without a single word. The crowd, previously under the mistress's spell, now turned there or toward the wife. Suspense hung thick in the air. What could the mistress do now? Every eye was fixed on the unfolding spectacle, breath held for the inevitable confrontation that was about to erupt. The mistress, though stunned, refused to vanish quietly. She straightened, smoothing her dress, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the crowd. A sharp laugh escaped her lips, an attempt to regain control, but it sounded hollow against the murmurs of astonished guests. She opened her mouth, poised for a verbal retort, but the words faltered. No one hung on her every syllable anymore. Her previous dominance evaporated in an instant. The wife, calm and unshaken, stepped forward with measured grace. Each movement projected authority. Each glance conveyed silent command. She did not retaliate with petty insults or theatrics. Instead, her mere presence rendered the mistress insignificant. The room's energy shifted palpably, whispers of admiration for the wife spreading like wildfire. Gasps punctuated conversations, and envious glances at the mistress replaced the awe she had once commanded. The husband's expression flickered, his loyalty wavering as he struggled to reconcile his allegiance with the sudden display of the wife's power. The audience leaned in, tense, anticipating the mistress's next move, yet she could only falter under the weight of the unanticipated reversal. Shock, embarrassment, and fury painted her face as the wife's silent dominance claimed the room. Behind the scenes, the wife's family subtly asserted their authority. Influential guests were guided to seats, conversations were redirected, and staff executed tasks with quiet precision. The room felt orchestrated, yet effortless, a demonstration of power that required no spectacle. Guests watched in awe, some impressed, others envious, as the mistress's influence waned by the minute. The husband's arrogance crumbled as he realized the consequences of underestimating both his wife and her family. His pride, once so unshakable, now seemed fragile, leaving him caught between panic and reluctant admiration. The mistress, flustered and humiliated, retreated to a corner, her once commanding presence diminished to nervous fidgets and whispered curses. Perhaps she would plot revenge later, but for now, she was powerless. The wife, meanwhile, radiated quiet triumph. Her victory was strategic, decisive, and graceful, a perfect blend of justice and personal vindication. Guests couldn't help but whisper of the impeccable execution, acknowledging the wife's poise and authority. And yet, beneath the satisfaction, a subtle tension lingered. While the battle was won tonight, the social chessboard remained ever-shifting, hinting that future challenges, rivalries, and conflicts were inevitable, keeping the audience eager for what might come next. In a secluded corner of the venue, away from prying eyes and the lingering murmurs of the crowd, the wife gathered with her family. The atmosphere was charged with quiet relief and understated pride. Each family member's eyes reflected satisfaction at the seamless execution of their subtle yet decisive intervention. The wife allowed herself a brief exhale, her mind replaying the events of the evening, the mistress's arrogant flaunting, the husband's smugness, and the precise orchestration of their own countermeasures. Every choice, every patient pause, had led to this moment of undeniable triumph. She felt a profound contrast between her composed, calculated strategy and the mistress's brash, impulsive display of arrogance. Though the immediate victory was hers, a faint tension lingered in her thoughts, foreshadowing future challenges, whether social, personal, or even romantic. Still, she allowed herself a quiet smile. Tonight, the balance of power had shifted irreversibly in her favor. As guests departed, their conversations buzzed with astonishment and intrigue, the tale of the wife's family empire's dramatic takeover spreading like wildfire. The mistress's reputation, once untouchable, had been irreparably tarnished. Whispers of humiliation followed her, and a few envious glances lingered long after her retreat. The husband walked between admiration and regret, uncertain how to reconcile his prior confidence with the display of the wife's commanding presence. Meanwhile, the wife's legacy solidified in the minds of everyone present. A woman not to be underestimated, whose patience and strategy could overturn even the most daring social triumphs. Yet beneath the satisfaction, subtle cues hinted at lingering tensions. Envious socialites, ambitious rivals, and even the mistress herself were bound to challenge the new hierarchy eventually. The evening's events left the air electric with anticipation, a promise that while victory had been achieved, the story, and the stakes, were far from over. Readers were left on edge, imagining what future battles might unfold. Flashbacks intermittently illuminate the mistress's past manipulations, devious social schemes, whispered betrayals, and carefully orchestrated public humiliations, painting a sharp contrast with the wife's calculated, patient approach. These glimpses reveal just how audacious the mistress once was, making her sudden fall all the more striking. Meanwhile, the husband's internal monologues provide a window into his conflicting emotions. Pride in his chosen mistress, shock at the wife's hidden influence, and creeping regret as he realizes he underestimated the quiet strength beside him. Close-ups on staff reactions, subtle smirks, whispered exchanges, purposeful glances, lay a suspense, emphasizing that unseen forces are quietly shaping the evening. Small interactions among guests, hushed gossip, and shifting alliances underscore the magnitude of social humiliation the mistress now faces, heightening tension and anticipation for how she might respond while keeping the audience on edge. The ballroom had quieted, the glittering chandeliers reflecting the tension that still lingered in the air. The mistress, her earlier confidence shaken but not yet surrendered, took a deliberate step forward. Her eyes scanned the room, and for one final, dramatic attempt, she raised her voice, delivering a pointed remark meant to humiliate the wife. She flared her arms, struck poses of exaggerated elegance, and tried to reclaim the attention she had lost. But the audience, now fully aware of the wife's subtle dominance, remained silent, their eyes fixed on the calm figure at the center. The wife, serene and unshaken, allowed the mistress's theatrics to collapse under their own desperation. The husband's gaze flickered between them, torn between the mistress's flamboyance and his growing admiration for his wife's composed authority. Shock, embarrassment, and reluctant respect etched across the mistress's features, as she finally understood that her reign of dominance had ended. Every gesture now seemed futile, her public power eclipsed by patience, strategy, and quiet control. With measured grace, the wife stepped away from the center of attention, her family close behind, each movement radiating quiet command. Guests whispered fervently, marveling at her brilliance, strategic mind, and poise. The mistress's reputation, once untouchable, had been irrevocably tarnished, leaving only murmurs of her earlier arrogance. The husband, humbled, absorbed the lesson of patience, intelligence, and understated authority, recognizing the power his wife wielded without spectacle. Internally, the wife reflected on justice and mercy, aware that this triumph solidified her position, yet that future challenges, social rivals, lingering enmities, or even personal trials, would inevitably arise. A subtle glance from a rival in the crowd, or a whispered comment just out of earshot, suggested that this victory, while decisive, was only one chapter in a larger, ongoing battle. Triumph and elegance defined the evening, yet beneath the surface, tension simmered, leaving a promise that the story was far from over. The wife had emerged victorious, but the world still awaited what came next.